I started off with some clips from this perspective so you can see the way we are doing the key and also how narrow this bank actually is. In places it's barely 2 feet wide. Hey, it's Brock here from Rock Hill Farms, and we're out here to work on the pond again today. This week we've added the bridge, reshaped the far bank, and today we're going to try to address this pond, this dam that we believe is leaking, by adding clay to it and packing it in, and hopefully we can make some progress here. I started off by just dumping clay in down here at this end of the pond, and down here was really pretty easy to work because the dam is already 8 feet wide on this side of the fence and pretty flat. But we wanted to start as far back as we could on cutting the key, which is what you see Billy doing right now. A lot of my regular viewers might remember Billy from previous videos. He's helped me on quite a few projects, especially on building the Quonset hut. And I really wanted a second opinion and some help on this dam project. And I called Billy and I called Joe that helped us with the Quonset hut, excavating, and with digging the pond expansion. Joe was on another pond project and didn't have the availability to come while I have this machine rented. And he actually kind of advised me that he didn't recommend we try to do this back dam the way we're doing it. And, you know, he's an expert with a lot of experience, and normally I try to listen to that. But I decided I'd rather try it, and if it doesn't work, we can always do something else. But I've got this machine here. I want to try the easiest solution first. And Billy really deserves a lot of credit for any success we have on this, because he's the one who had the vision that we could still cut a keyway down at the bottom as we went. So you can see he's not really removing the bank. He's only moving down at the water level and cutting a little bit below water level and then filling back in. So there's a continuous line of clay from the depth he's at all the way up to the new bank height. Now, if I put something in the title of this video about the skid loader almost falling in the pond, you might think I'm being a little bit dramatic. But I can tell you from the operator's seat, what you're about to see in a minute was pretty scary. Because where I'm parked right now in this shot is all fresh ground, and one track is hanging off where the pond bank used to be. And that means that all of that clay can push out at any time. And that's why Joe said he didn't really recommend it, because it might not seal it, and also you can dump a machine in if this bank gives way. So we were really trying to be careful, but an accident still could have happened. as we do this, we're not really able to dig a keyway across here because the bank we have to work with isn't wide enough to do it the right way, but we're doing it as well as we can do it. And by doing that, what I mean is we're trying to dig kind of a keyway here. We're pulling out some material in a straight line around the existing bank, and then we're building on top of it. And we're pushing the bank out that way as far as we can, which is a slow process because you put some dirt right here and it pushes down in. You put some more and it pushes down in, and you just keep doing that until it starts to pack and get solid. I feel really comfortable driving on all of this. So obviously that was foreshadowing. We probably wouldn't have had a problem at all if I hadn't said it. Billy's in the excavator here, and watch his left track. That was just a slight little turn and clay pushing out and giving way. Now watch me in the same spot. I'm going to try to describe what I'm seeing and feeling from in the machine, because this camera angle makes it look like nothing at all happening. But as I try to back up and I hit that spot, one track is still pulling and the other track is just pushing material. And the machine is starting to twist, and I can see this bank pushing out away, and every little movement is making me get a little bit deeper like quicksand. I would say it was about 50-50. If I had just throttled it up and drove straight back, there's a good chance I would have just drove right out of here. But there's also a chance that I would have continued to dig a hole and we would have ended up with a real problem that I couldn't pull out of. So Billy saw the same thing and he said, let's just get a chain on it and be safe. So that's what we did. Now, previous to this little incident, we had been working in an area where the bank was pretty solid from before we started. And this was basically the first time getting out onto our newly built bank. And I was concerned that this was going to be a continuous problem where it just kept pushing out and kept pushing out, and really didn't think we were going to make much more progress. But we decided, let's just give it another try and see what happens. So Billy went out there and filled in the hole that I had just made and tamped it in. And we just went back to the same routine. And the biggest difference I think we made was putting a little bit more effort into packing each section down before moving forward. And then we just paid really close attention anytime we started to have a spot push out. And then we would work that spot back in. And I understand that the fact we're driving on it now is not a guarantee of long-term stability for the bank, but this is my property and I'm going to stay on top of it and just continue to work it even after we're done. So now we'll skip ahead, and we're quite a bit further out and driving all this way on a new bank that's at least a foot, maybe 18 inches higher than the previous bank, and it's widened out from 3 foot to almost 7 to 8 feet. And it's going pretty smooth, but the biggest hassle is that we don't want to get right on that edge, which even with this wider bank means we're pushing right up against this fence. And it's difficult to see, especially in the skid steer, to back up in a perfectly straight line without hooking my bucket on the fence or getting too close to the edge. And we managed to do it basically all day, and right before we finished for the day, we hooked the fence and tore some of it up. So tomorrow's video will start with me repairing some fence. Or possibly we'll wait and repair it when we're done so we don't snag it again.
You looking for a worm for your fishing pole?
I'm looking for a worm for my pole.
Are you going to try to dig a worm with your shovel?
I can't.
They're kind of hard to find. I bet you can find one if you look in the mud.
Can you?
As you can see, while we were working on this bank, my son and my grandson were out on the island doing some fishing. And at one point, I saw my son out in the pond. I think he dropped something. But I'm going to tell the story real quick and catch you guys up in case some of you are new here and don't know why we're doing this. It's pretty obvious that it would be nice to have a wider bank, and I want to be able to mow this bank, but that's not really the problem or the reason for doing it. We believe that this pond dam is leaking onto the neighbor's property, and it's getting narrower. And over time, not only could it leak and cause him a problem, but it could potentially give way and flood the entire property and destroy our pond. And obviously, I want to do whatever I can to prevent that, but I don't want to spend $10,000 or $12,000 draining the pond down, taking out this fence, using a bigger machine to flatten the whole top, cutting a keyway in. I want to do it at a reasonable cost if I can. And we've got about 100 tons, 120 tons I'm estimating of clay that we use today. And all of that clay came from my own property from digging borrow pits. I have a couple of videos where I dig a borrow pit, which is basically just digging out good clay for use on a project like this and replacing it with rocky fill dirt. And that saved me a lot of money. Using one machine I own and renting a relatively inexpensive smaller machine saved me money. The fact that I'm just hiring one friend to help me instead of a professional who has all his overhead and his insurance and possibly employees to worry about allows me to do this whole thing at a pretty reasonable price. So we've already done an expansion on the pond and made it bigger. We did an island. We installed a bridge. I reshaped all the bank opposite to where we're working now, and I've installed an overflow. The two things I have left after we finish this dam is getting rid of all these lily pads and creating a swale or a drain line that runs from the pond out towards a drainage ditch to get rid of any overflow we might have. As you can see, we've got an area now that's pretty flat and level and dramatically wider than it was. So we weren't able to finish it in one day, but we'll be back on it tomorrow.
All right, guys, I am absolutely thrilled with the progress we've made here. Being honest, I didn't know if I could widen this or not, but it seems to be working. There's still a possibility of some erosion off this side, but there's no chance that we didn't improve it. And I think cutting that keyway in the clay is going to keep it, it's going to fix that leak, I hope. We'll find out over time, but I should definitely be able to mow this, and I think the leak's probably fixed, and those were the two priorities. So I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.